Hello, I'm Andy Alder. I'm being filmed today in support of my book that came out last year, Small Projects in a Big World. And today I'd like to show you around some of the things we've done, our projects that are in this book that are actually in our own garden. Some of our areas are very small. Around me here, there's an experiment that we're trying this year to see how much veg we can actually grow in a very enclosed space. And we are actually going to weigh the produce. So we can actually work out what you literally on almost balcony size as opposed to a full size allotment. There's quite a few little projects going on around the house. There's also our herb garden where we grow perennial herbs. And once again, we'll look at that later. It doesn't take a huge amount of space up. But we do use other people's gardens a lot. Either empty gardens that the owner doesn't live there and can't look after, or elderly people who let us grow some veg on their land, and then we can barter them vegetables and they get their garden looked after and kept nice. We do rent a couple of allotments. One we grow apple trees on, and the other one is a forest garden with raised beds. We also keep a few sheep on a small farm. Once again, we pay a peppercorn rent for the farm in return for keeping our sheep there, and also we help out around the farm with some labour. It's an elderly lady who lives there, and she can't do all the jobs herself, so we've got a happy medium of doing what we want to do and helping Jill on her land as well, which is really quite a nice little setup. One of the allotments, as I've mentioned earlier, we've made into a forest garden. Our garden at home is also really leafy, and we've got the hazelnuts already forming in the garden. So behind me is the herb growing area, and beyond that is the chicken run. So this area is producing most of our leafy herbs. The big one at the moment is lemon balm, which really takes over at this time of the year. But it's great for teas. We also grow comfrey in the garden, and I've just cut some comfrey this morning to go into the compost bins. We've got 3 compost bins in this garden, and we've got a big caddy, so any surplus plant material can go to the allotment where we've got quite a few. So big one in here at the moment is lemon balm. It's a very pre-vernal garden. By what I mean by that is that a lot of stuff comes up really early. So May, June, this garden's probably at its most edible. We've got things like I've still got the Woodhavens, wild garlic, ransoms, sweet woodruff, which we use for flavouring beer, and the wild garlic, of course, we eat. So it's a very productive patch, but it changes throughout the year, which is quite nice. So at the moment, as I said, we've got lots of lemon balm, we've got feverfew, we've got horseradish, we've still got rhubarb left here, we've still got black currants in the corner. The tree in front of me that I just showed you is a hazel. Next to that's a rowan tree, both of which we take the nuts and the berries from. We've also got 3 big apple trees in here, a plum tree at the back, totally perennial. Okay, there's no annuals in there at all. Everything comes up year after year. Ransoms, the wild garlic, I bought a tiny little one in a pot, and I brought it home and planted it in the garden, and 30-something years later, I've got it everywhere. Nothing is dug up in there. Horseradish, for example, most people will dig that up and eat the root, or make, horseradish sauce. We don't. We just snip bits off the leaf and add them to casseroles and curries just to give them a bit of a bite. So even that is just staying in the ground. When you're planting a forest garden like ours, sometimes something's in the right place when you first plant it, but as the trees around it grow bigger, and if it's not getting enough sun, you need to move it then. It was fine when the trees were little, but so sometimes you've got to change the pieces in the jigsaw puzzle around. You have your ground layer, your shrub layer, and then your canopy layer. And the whole idea is that a lot of the wild plants in this country that are edible can live in that situation. And when you're planning it, we'll have areas where there's dappled shade, and right on the edges, just like in front of me over there, there's a lot of sun-loving stuff coming up because there's a few feet from the tree. I mean, the hazel that you can see here, that's due to be coppiced this winter. So that will actually be taken down. The poles will either be used for bean poles or firewood for one of the pot bellies. And then it'll be allowed to grow back up again. It's funny, whenever I cut that down the next year, I have loads more snowdrops than we usually do. And we've got hundreds, but there's more. But remember, we're not just cutting that hazel down and wasting the materials. All the materials will be used. The spread of the branches at the ends, pea sticks for the allotment to climb things up. And as I said earlier, there's wood burning logs and useful poles for us. And the other thing, anything we can't use, we put through a wood chipper, which gives us wood as a mulch, and is also a very useful, commodity to us. We use it all the time. So nothing actually gets wasted. What we've done with this border, because we're right up against our neighbour's fence, is we put in 2 apple trees as espaliers. So they're growing horizontally and then throwing shoots up which are holding the apples. So I've got 2 in there. We've got yellow loose strife growing in here. We've got apple mint, and this plant here, it hasn't actually got a use for us, edible or medicinal or what have you. But this is black-eyed Susan, and it's perennial, and it throws out about this sort of size sunflower heads, or very sunflower-looking heads. And right at the end of the year, when all the cranesbill have lost its flowers and everything's getting a bit green and wintry, we have this mass of sunflowers here, which to us marks, when I see these black-eyed Susans flowering, I know that we're going into the autumn and the winter. It's the final stand of the garden. The same with the apple mint. They're very good late pollinators. And so this will be a sea of insects later in the year. Also in here, they appear by themselves. We do get a lot of blackberry runners, which we have to take control of, but it is quite nice to wander down and just pick the odd blackberry off. So they stay. There's also garden mint up there. So yeah, this little border, I suppose, in its own right, is quite productive, really. The other thing in here, and it's died back now, is lovage. But that's lovage, which is very nice in salads, and also it can be, I've never done it, but you can candy the stems to make sweets. The 10 or so trees on the allotment that we do get quite a few apples. Most of ours either go for cooking, eating, apple juice or cider. In fact, it's just beginning to finish now, but we've just had what's known as the June drop, and that's where the weather's getting hotter, especially this year, and the apple trees start dropping small apples to make more room for the larger apples so they can get bigger and not be hindered. This area is our workshops, barns and the chicken run. So I suppose the whole thing takes up about a third of the garden. This is the barn. It tends to get used for storage more than anything else. We've got a pole lathe in here for wood turning. We've got a forge. And in fact, there's one of the June drop apples come down and landed in the forge. So we can do blacksmithing. At the back, the red with the big wheel, that's the cider press and cider scratter. And the wood chipper in front of that, which we use to chip any woody material for making mulch. As I said, a very useful commodity. I wanted it to be a space not just for me. So sometimes our local bodgers, green woodworkers, meet here. So I wanted lots of benches around the place, so 2, 3, 4, 5 people could all work together on even on same project or different projects. I've only got 3 old ladies left now. Bruce is obsessed with them. He'll stand there all day watching and counting them and what have you. It's quite interesting on the subject of chickens. 3 gives us pretty much enough eggs. Okay, now and again we'll have a glut, but on the whole with 3 birds there's enough eggs for our family. This is still part of the wood workshop. This is the outside bit of the workshop, and there's a little room goes off of there where we've got all the batteries. We're fitting solar up onto the roof here, so I can light all of my workshops by solar and batteries. When I'm using machinery in the workshop, I have a large cable that comes down from the house, and we run off the 18 solar panels on the roof of the house, which is on a good day is about 3,420 watts of electricity, or possible electricity. So that covers all my machinery quite well. A lot of the stuff, I suppose, is making stuff for the house, you know. This barn and workshop took a lot of recycled timber to build, and hardly any of it was new. So, and if you've got animals as well, chickens, sheep, you're always having to make up gate hurdles or whatever it might be. So yeah, there's always something going on in the workshop. This is the main workshop, and it's 8 foot wide by 16 foot long. A sharpening bench, got a machinery bench, and we've got the 2 main workbenches, which are a little bit untidy at the moment. Quite a few projects all going on. I've indulged in having an untidy bench for a little while, which if anybody wants to use the workshop, I'll have to tidy up a bit. Full range of woodworking tools, metal working tools. Once again, we're pretty equipped, and that's one of the other things about our lifestyle and philosophy, perhaps, is living on a low income, having the equipment to be able to do things for yourself saves an awful lot of money. On the whole, we can do just about anything we need to do on the property from here.